Hey guys, today we are going to show sort of a crazy game that Alex part of played against like Shankland. And when I saw this game, I was actually shocked. I actually couldn't believe that grandmasters can play like this. And I'm pretty sure, Shankland was also totally not expecting this. So this game, at least for me, makes it feel like, oh, even if you want to be like a strong player, you don't necessarily have to play like book lines. You can actually innovate as early as move one, as you can see in this game. What can I say beyond the fact that it's just a shocking game? Alex, you can maybe give your comments as well.
Yeah, so the intuition behind, like, we can play the first move, like white played d4, and I played against Sam the year prior to that in the same tournament. It was, I think, St. Louis Spring Chess Classic, and he played e4 in like the year prior to this game, and I managed to beat him in the Ruy Lopez. I expected he would play e4 and try to like find an improvement in the line that I played against him the previous year, but he played d4, and I was like sort of like unprepared. And I had a dilemma whether to play lines that he knows very well, because it's not a secret that he's like one of the best opening theoreticians in the world, or try to like experiment over the board. But so I spent about like 5 minutes in the first move, and I was thinking in which line to go, and I was afraid to play pretty much anything because, again, everything is analyzed by Sam. It's well known. So I ended up playing move 96. So we can play that move, and I expect him to play e4 because e4 is the most natural move. Why? Because white fights for the center. And actually, after e4, I would transpose.
I was just about to say, this is the first time in my life I've seen a grandmaster just happily play knight a6. I think the only analogy I remember is like when Miles played a6 against Karpov in response to before
right.
Miles, Tony Miles played a7, a6. And yeah, Tony Miles ended up winning the game. And I believe at that time, from what I understood, that Soviet magazines refused to publish the first move that Miles played in the game. And so it was always like, the first move wasn't published, but the rest of the moves were published, and people are really wondering what was happening. So it really left a big scar on Karpov, and it was extremely unusual. And also, I think Karpov was not happy, to say the least. Apparently, Miles talked to Karpov, and Karpov even wrote this loss off and said that Miles, Karpov has a huge plus score against Miles after that game. And then Miles said, actually, no, it's not a huge plus score. It's not +5 like you claim. It's only like +2 or something like that. And Karpov was like, basically defensive. So the point was, this definitely was like a huge scarring thing when you're playing against a strong player, and you guys are world-class players, and playing a move like this, and it's just, I don't know, shocking to me.
Right, and also I played 96 because if Sam played e4 on the first move, I was planning to play c6, d4, knight a6. I was planning to play Caro-Kann, and if he played e4 here, that would be a transposition to the line I wanted to play, which I had a couple of classical games, and I think I beat Arthur Kogan, like Israeli grandmaster. Like that was like 10 years ago, and perhaps a few like 2,400 players, and I think I lost only one game in this line. And so, yeah, that was my plan against Sam as well. Just try to play this position and try to get out of theory as early as possible. And again, the little idea is white plays bishop a6. I have 25 checks. So I'm not forced to weaken my pawn structure. Yeah, other than that, there are pretty much no ideas. Like, of course, white is slightly better, maybe not so slightly. But why I do that voluntarily, just to try to get out of theory as early as possible. Yeah, but he surprised me. He played c4 in the second move, and yeah, I was I didn't know what to do, because whatever I played.
It's almost like a challenge for the readers or the viewers. Can you find the move in this position? It's in my mind, it almost feels like
viewers can see temptation. So yeah, that's
unfortunate. That's also true. Yes, maybe we should hide it too. Yeah.
Right.
Let's increase the board size slightly. Okay.
Oh, that's very nice. That's cool. Yeah. So yeah, on my next move, I also spent 5 minutes. On the first move, I spent like 10 minutes, I think, in total. And what was the challenge? I could play g6 or e6, but eventually they would transpose into some well-known pawn structure. So if I play g6, it would be maybe some sort of like King's Indian, where I would try to justify this knight a6 move somehow. Maybe play g6, bishop g7, d6, c6, like typical King's Indian position. If I played e6, that would be, again, like d4, e6, c4, knight a6 move. So, and why would just develop, why would play logical moves and get a better position without thinking too much, right? So I was looking for something that would make my opponent think as early as possible, and I thought e5 was exactly that move that I was looking for. And turned out the novelty, I think, at least over the board chess. But if I'm not mistaken, there were 6 games in some computer, like in the games between 2 computers, or 2 engines, So it wasn't like novelty of
No, but
all
I'm
games.
assuming that
Uh-huh.
the engines would score heavily with white. I mean,
I don't
do you
remember.
remember?
I don't remember. I just briefly checked, but that was I think a novelty on the over the board chess, which is still pretty good because I think like, how many games, like 8 million games in Megatabase, and this is novelty in Move 2, which is quite hard to find novelty in Move 2 in the modern chess, especially over the board. And so my opponent played d5, and it seems like looks like a Budapest gambit, like d4, knight f6, c4, e5, but with knight on g8 and the other knight on a6. And here, I mean, we play d6. I think it's a logical follow-up. The idea is to sacrifice the pawn and try to get quick development. So some of the ideas that come to mind is bishop f5, maybe knight b4, knight c2 later, and this knight on a6 is perhaps not so badly placed. But of course, objectively, white should have like not one, not two, perhaps not even three ways to get in a much better position. So, but again, that was not the point. The point was to try to make my opponent think. And he played, I don't remember what he played, knight f3. Yeah, so I think that's what he played, and well, we have to develop our pieces here, so we can play like perhaps let's say bishop e7, but that doesn't look good. Why? Because I mean, what we'll do with knight on g8 then? So bishop e5 again comes supernatural to me at least. The idea is to play developing move, prevent move e4, and perhaps have this like knight b4, knight c2 ideas in the future. And if like white plays some developing move, and maybe I can play queen d7 and long castle. So I develop a piece, and I still have follow-up developing moves. So he played, I think, bishop g5, right?
Yeah, I think one thing that's coming to my mind is I think was it Hikaru Nakamura who played what was that line? The Albin counter gambit, d4, d5,
Okay,
c4, e5.
possible.
Yeah, so
I
I think
played this as a child too.
yeah, so
Interesting line.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think Hikaru is pretty famous because he's used this line as black against GMs. I don't think he does it anymore,
I think
but there
Morozevich
was a
played. I think Morozevich played country Albin.
yeah. So I think in a way this position isn't as bad because initially when somebody sees knight a6 and e5, it feels like a big slap to the face. But then when you look at it, you think, okay, it's almost like a hybrid between the Albin. Okay, the knight's not well placed on a6, but if black can play like this against strong grandmaster like Shankland, this means that amateurs especially shouldn't worry too much about openings because clearly even at GM level you can just totally unbalance the game in the first two moves.
Right, but I mean, after this game was played, I think, I mean, some scrupulous chess players found like a concrete way to get an opening advantage. I mean, so perhaps you can play something like that in one game, but next time you should not repeat because it was already analyzed and prepared by your opponents, by your future opponents. With country gambit Albin, I think this is not so simple. I think there is like more merit to that opening than to what I played in this game. So you can keep reusing perhaps. And perhaps same about Chigorin. I think Morozevich was playing it, and Morozevich and I think Rapport as well. They were playing that opening for a long period of time and quite successfully. Yeah. So this opening is just for one game. Try to surprise opponent in one game and not to repeat it ever again. Actually, I tried to repeat against Jacobian. I played d4 knight a6, but in that game I lost. That was like 1 year after that, 1 year and a half. I think it was last fall. I also played d4 knight a6, and then he didn't play c4. He played something else. I don't remember. And then I played g6, bishop g7, and eventually the game was unbalanced. But my opponent won. Yeah. So in this game, what he played bishop g5, right? I think. And again, what can we do? I mean, I think the next move seems very natural. Queen d7. I want to develop. F6 would be too much, like to sacrifice a pawn because if ef6, knight f6. I open the F file, but what does it bring to me? As my king is still in the center, I would still need to move to castle, like bishop e7, short castle, and still like no ideas. Another move is bishop e7, try to develop the piece with a tempo, but in that case, my pawn would take on e7, I would take back, and he would take on d6, and I would have an isolated pawn on d6. Plus, I would be a pawn down. So again, queen d7 came naturally, so I develop the piece, and I don't like make any commitments.
And
And he
there's the
played knight
idea that maybe sometimes you can play h6, g5 also in some lines to kick the bishop out before castling.
Perhaps, yeah. So he played knight c3. So he tries to play like simple chess, like developing. And here, I don't see a useful move. I think I have to do what I did. So d5 I played, I think. Because again, will be very happy to make a long castle, but I cannot because bishop is there. As you mentioned, maybe h6 deserves attention. And after that, perhaps bishop h4, g5, bishop g3. And I'm not sure whether like this g5 idea is justified. Yeah, we can play again. I mean, on one hand, I can develop bishop to g7, but again, I don't think this is enough to justify.
Yeah, it feels like bishop g7 probably just ed6 and
Perhaps
castle long.
eventually yeah, that's
Yeah, it
that's
feels
like
too
all in. I think I would lose this
yeah,
game in 10 moves. Yeah. because I mean, my
that's
opponent is a very
good
strong
ideas.
player, and it was a classical game, right? So I played d5, and the idea is, I mean, it's a concrete move. So if I place knight e5, he cannot do that because I take on d1 and play f6, I win the piece, right?
Yeah, actually, this is worthwhile just pointing out. So, rook d1, sorry, queen d1, rook d1, f6, forking
Mhm.
the bishop and the knight. And the funny thing is, this knight at a6 stops white from doing like,
Right,
an
right.
obvious tactical attempt. Let's say white plays, for instance,
Knight
knight d5,
b5.
say,
Yeah.
threatening to fork knight c7. This is not a problem. So this knight, I don't know which is better to take.
Yeah, doesn't matter perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just say take the knight. And like knight c7 check trying to fork pieces doesn't work because the knight and a6
Right.
it's surprisingly useful.
Right. So what he did,
so that's
he took. Makes sense, right? Since he can't take it right away.
Took on d7.
Bishop d7 and knight e5 now. So now I can play f6 because my bishop is hanging. So I played bishop e6. So it was like part of the plan.
Yeah,
and it
actually,
seems like
one question in this position. Yeah, it looks like he's a pawn up in endgame. Didn't that scare you at all, or did you feel?
Well, first of all, I can win the pawn back if I really want. So he played what? What did he play? E3? No, sorry, bishop f4. F6 is a threat, right? I think he played bishop f4. And here I have a dilemma. I can play f6 and take the opponent c4 and regain the material. But again, that is not the point why I play. So knight f3, I think. Let's say bishop c4. And material is equal. But I thought that this is still something not to play because white can play long castle. My king is in the center. His king is safe. He can play e4. His play is very, very easy. He's better developed. And again, I wanted to make my opponent think. So I didn't go for that, although the material is equal, because it was very easy for my opponent to play this position. So what I did, I played, let me remember, I played a long castle, I think, or something like that. Yeah, right or no? Yeah, long castle.
Correct. Yeah, long castle.
And although there are no queens on the board, I think we can still try to play for the initiative. Why? Because our king is already safe, the white king is not. And we still have these ideas like knight b4, bishop b4. And he played what? e3, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, e3.
Yeah, right. So this time, as you see, I'm guessing because I cannot see the notation myself. So, and here I think it was the hardest move of the game, at least for me. This is like what I wrote in the book. If I try like knight b4, white has rook c1, and I think I'm running out of ideas. If I try bishop b4, maybe he can also play rook c1 and maybe bishop e2, because we have to think what our opponent wants to do. So he wants to play most likely bishop e2 and castle as soon as possible, and then he'll have an extra pawn. I mean, and perhaps a better development. So, and I also was considering moves like g5, of course, trying to attack as soon as possible. So we can play this move g5, which I didn't play, but that was also another.
G5 looks tempting. G5 looks tempting, but on the other hand, he just plays say bishop. I think bishop g. Well, he can't take on g5, right?
No, I think he can. Yeah, so I think I didn't play because he can take on g5, right? f6.
He can. F6 and
bishop f4. Bishop f4.
Yeah. Bishop f4. Oh yeah, bishop f4. Yeah.
So something like that. I mean, so I saw that g5 was tempting, but it did not work concretely. So if we take on e5, bishop e5, and white wins material. And
oh yeah, actually, we're pointing out that there's no way to get the rook out, and if the knight moves, then if the knight can only sacrifice itself. So yeah, this isn't that good. And knight b4 or something that just rook c1, and you captured a piece in next move.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that didn't work, no? So I ended up playing like move knight f6, which seems like very logical, but again, as I said, it was a hard move to find. I think I spent like a considerable amount of time on this move because it seemed like we want to attack like play g5 or knight b4, but instead we play a move like knight f6. So the idea of knight f6 is what?
No, I was just about to say that the reason why Alex or strong players would take a lot of time in this position is mainly because white's a pawn up. So there's something ingrained in their heads that if I just play natural moves here and just play for status quo, then white is going to easily win because white has an extra pawn. Or not easily win, let's just say there's a considerable chance of winning. So that's why Alex sort of hesitated even to make a natural move like knight f6 because he was looking for concrete compensation for the pawn, or at least some chance to like unbalance the position.
Yeah, so using like analogy with the real world, in my mind, I thought of this position as a narrow path. I mean, so I made a commitment by playing knight e6, e5, and after that I had to follow narrow path, not to get to like a losing position. So yeah, that's why I spent so much time because as you correctly underlined, if I just play something, I will be just a pawn down, and against strong player like my opponent, that would most likely result in a loss. So knight f6, and the idea is what? Actually, there are two ideas, I think. One is to play knight h5, which is not the main idea. So let's start with the least important idea. And the idea of this move is to get the bishop pair. And then position will be open, and maybe I would have some compensation. And the second idea is bishop b4. Like again, knight b4 is tempting, but it does not work due to rook c1, and black runs out of threat. So second idea is to play bishop b4 and play positionally. So here we don't play for an attack, we try to get positional compensation. And this is what my opponent failed to understand during the game. So he just played two pretty natural moves, bishop e2 and castle. And after that, I think white's position is actually like very bad positionally. Like we can see, so bishop e2.
Yeah, this is actually sort of funny. I wanted to say that couple of things which I think are good tools to like confuse an opponent. You're playing knight f6. There could be a potential idea like to play knight h5, but that's not the main idea. That's sort of like a, maybe we should call this a decoy idea. Decoy idea because it's not really the main idea in this position, but your opponent will spend a couple of minutes thinking about how to defend against it, and you're basically, how to say, wasting his time. And as Alex points out, the real idea in this position is to play bishop b4, knight e4. And the problem is, if this faster move knight h5 didn't exist, there's a good chance that he might actually see that bishop b4, knight e4 is a threat, and he might actually take more precautions against it. I don't know. Is a3 is a3 a good move or the best move or not really?
Perhaps possible, yeah. I think maybe then I'll play knight h5, I presume.
And but is that better than what Sam played or not?
I don't know. I didn't analyze this game deeply with computers again. I just yeah. But so bishop is a very natural move. It's a very natural move. We can see. Let's see what computer thinks. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's not easy because the computer thinks the best move is knight f3.
Same as a3. A3 is also possible.
Yeah.
But as you see, computer provides two ideas. I mean, like bishop b4, knight h5, as we discussed, right? Which makes sense, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's much harder to fool the computer. Like, so it'll find. Yeah. It actually likes a3. And after knight h5, what is the computer going to do? Just play bishop g3 and give up. I guess give up the bishop pair, but get the h5.
But you can understand from human perspective, it's not so easy for him to to go into this position because what the computer suggests, it's very logical, like from black's perspective. Take g6, bishop g7. My bishop is very active on the h8, a1 diagonal. Perhaps I have ideas like knight c5, knight b3 later. And my king is safe. His king is still in the center. So I can understand why didn't play this move. But of course, the position is concrete. I mean, so perhaps we need to deeper dive. So he played a very logical move, bishop e2. I mean, like we want to castle, right? And we prevent knight h5. And now, I mean, it's not so simple, I think, right? So bishop b4, right? Actually, we can turn on the engine. After that, let's say bishop b4.
Yeah, I don't know. The problem is the engine is halted, but I would, clear the cache or something. Oh God, how do we do that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I think there's not an easy way to do it because it's trying to. This is a feature of the software to remember the previous lines, from previous analysis.
Okay, so he played the castle here, and I think white is in trouble after that. I mean, it seems like white played all the logical moves, but white is in the position.
Oh, it's so funny that the computer is thinking that the best move is knight f3 here, and
possible.
I guess knight e4, rook c1 or something. Wow, okay. And then the computer is thinking, okay, knight c5, and
knight d4. Yeah, he prevents me from what I did in the game, right? So let's see. White played castle. He didn't feel the danger. I think he just didn't feel the danger. And computer, computer is computer. So,
yeah, he castled.
And here I think black is just better, much better positional. I think. So let's see what computer thinks. Or what do you think first? What is your opinion actually?
Actually, it's a good point.
What do we do?
I'm actually, it's funny because white is still a pawn up. I'm keeping that in my mind. I know that, maybe the worst is off the table because you could always do like bishop c3 and knight e4 or something like that. But I'm just thinking, take knight e4, rook c1. Yeah, I think there should be enough composition. You can always take on c3, maybe not immediately, but you can always take knight e4, rook d2. So it looks like black should be okay.
Not okay. I think black is just positional, dominating the position there, because white's bishop pair is useless and the position is maybe semi-closed and there are a lot of weaknesses. And I think black knights will be very active on e4 and c5 respectively. So I think black is much better. So I wonder what computer thinks here. No? So I just so
bishop takes c3 is the first move, which is good. And then here and now knight e4. Okay, more or less the computer is thinking like humans here.
And it's funny because this is like move 15 or something, and white is like in a big trouble. I mean, if you look at the computer. And it was a classical game, so again, it should prove that you can play whatever.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, I'm sure your opponent wasn't too happy about this after the game because it feels a bit annoying that black plays knight a6 and the e5, and what move number is this?
14 and 15.
I've been in the board. I think this is 14 or 15. I mean, I can actually easily find out, but let's just make the board slightly smaller. So yeah, move 13. Oh God,
yeah, black is better.
It's really annoying that for somebody to play against d4 knight a6 and then be worse on move 13.
And it's positional. Yes, the no tactics. I mean, I think the game is purely positional after that. Yeah, so we can turn it off, I think, again. Yeah, so I just want to verify what neural engine thinks, because I just analyzed briefly with Stockfish back then, but that's it.
So here he ended up playing.
Yeah, so what did he play? I don't remember. No.
I mean, he has to play rook of c1 because he's you're hitting c3 pawn. I don't see any other move. I guess you could also consider rook a c1. You just have to choose which rook.
Perhaps, yeah. So here I missed something. Not g5, but rook d2, I think, right? Yeah, I think rook d2.
Yeah, g5. Okay, yeah, okay. So rook d2 was played. Correct.
Bishop f3, and here I made a terrible decision. And yeah, when I analyzed the game afterwards, and if my opponent played what I want him to play, he would be in a big, big trouble. And I think this game is analyzed partially, so we can actually just maybe turn on the notation, because I don't remember the analysis itself. So I should have played knight c5. This is what I remember. And I played move f5.
Okay, so I can just go back and.
Yeah.
Okay, so
knight c5 and
f5. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I might have. You know what? I think I got the unannotated game for some reason.
It's annotated. Oh yeah, sure.
C5.
Yeah, this is from the internet, right? Yeah. So that in that case, we just don't need maybe the notation, since there's no analysis. Right, I forgot about that. Yeah, good point. Yeah. So this was what I should have played, and of course this is move I considered, but I end up playing the move f5 for some reason. And here, I mean, what is interesting? So why did the pawn up? He has a bishop pair, but I agree with computer. Vice position is just that bad, as it says.
Yeah, no, it's so sad. Yeah, that's, I mean, maybe not sad, but surprising that white is
right.
Is playing worse. What? But he's a pawn up and has a bishop pair. So yeah.
And white is that worse, because this is a lot, right? Like 22% is like very, very little.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, so this is what I considered.
It's not intuitively obvious, to be honest. 94, say f3, knight c5.
This is what I should have done. Yeah, I didn't see this line at all. This is one line. Was also suggested by Stockfish. Yeah, just rook e2, and then I have f6, bishop c4, rook d8. It's just like white bishop on f4 is just not useless. Knight on e5 is out of place, because I have ideas like f6 or h5, f6, and there is weakness on c4.
So say if rook e1, yeah, let's just say.
I think this is loses material, right?
Take anyone, I would assume.
Oh, it doesn't lose. Okay, there's a bishop e3. I see.
Maybe f6 and then f6, and.
Yeah, bishop e3 only move, otherwise knight e3, right?
Yeah, otherwise knight e3. So you had to flip bishop e3.
Knight e4?
Yeah. Knight a4
and take on c4. Material is equal, but white has very weak, like, I don't know, pawn structure. I have like ideas like rook d8.
Knight f4. I see. And rook d8.
Rook d8. Yeah.
This is a counterintuitive position, but now it looks okay for black. It looks good for black, because even though it's opposite color bishop, which is traditionally a drawing tendency, which has a drawing tendency, the problem is that the pawns are weak. The c3 pawns weak, a2 pawns weak, and black can pick up one or two of them.
Yeah, it's just like to naked eye just looks very bad for white, because there are no ideas, and yeah, black controls the open file, but have weaknesses on the queen side. Yeah, so this is perhaps one of the strongest lines. But why I didn't play this line? There was something else. So f3, right? Just a second. Knight to c5. Yes, if you look. Yeah, knight c5, bishop e4, knight e4, f3, and what did I calculate? I don't remember. Actually, I cannot even remember what they calculate.
No, I think intuitively it just feels like, maybe the problem is with this position is intuitively, if you see that in two moves, white can strengthen center, play f3, e4, and drive away both the knight on f3 and the rook on d2. It feels like problem. White has enough counterplay.
Yeah, I thought knight f3. I didn't like knight f3. Knight f3, I thought.
Knight f3. Oh, okay.
Rook f2. If I take as ideas like knight g5, and this is
knight g5. Sure. Yeah, that's also interesting. Knight g5.
Something like that I didn't like, right? Yeah, and I saw knight takes g5, another like positional sacrifice idea. Knight g5. Yeah, so we can play this move.
Knight g5, yeah, knight g5, king f2.
King f2, knight e4, and I felt like I have more than enough compensation, but I wanted to play for a win. I was already playing for a win, and I didn't see like how to win. Let's say he plays king f3, knight d2, and king e2, and I don't see anything better than repetition. And I think if white doesn't repeat moves, I think he's in positional trouble. I think white should play for a draw, so we can maybe play some. Can we go back and just make some null move for white, as you say?
Yeah, let's just say I don't know, like king say f2, and knight c4.
No. I want to have my knight and e4, bishop on c4. I think. No,
Okay, so bishop on c4, right? Yeah, actually, this is very important. Actually, it's an important moment in this kind of position. Yes, you'll be tempted to take on c4. You'll be tempted to play as you desire. But what's important is to make sure that you think of your piece formation. And as Alex rightly pointed out, hey, the piece formation is put the bishop on c4, knight and e4.
But I'm not sure here either, because white might, that's what I want to get. But maybe white could play e4 and sacrifice the pawn. So I'll be worried about white giving the pawn back. But in that case, I would have 2 pawns for the exchange. Yeah, so let's analyze this position. I think black is just
No, I think the point I
better.
want to emphasize is that it's important to think where all your pieces belong. So I think Alex very quickly said bishops on c4, knight on e4. Schematically, getting all of your pieces onto good squares. Because like if you just quickly say I'll play knight c4, then where does this bishop go? Where is the central square for bishop? It's not as
white has e4
good.
as well. White has e4, and I want to control light squares. I mean, this gives up my control of the light squares, so and his bishop becomes like more active. So my idea is to restrict his pieces to play against his dark squared bishop. So I want to keep control of e4 square. Yeah. So that's why I didn't play it, but I think there was some improvement.
I'm just wondering, what is improvement? I'm actually curious now. So the idea is like, if you, I see, if rook f2, I guess interesting. So rook f2, then knight g5.
What is the computer thing? I already forgot here. Maybe this is.
I'm just wondering if we can work it out, or is it so hard that we need a computer?
Here I think this is fine. I think my opponent was planning to do something else actually. No? So if he was planning to do something else, and I think there I was much better. So I think I was evaluating that position more precisely. And I don't remember what exactly he wanted to play.
Yeah, this is interesting actually. So let's say
knight f3.
Oh, computer's just thinking rook b2, or I guess rook
anything.
b2 or anything.
Yeah, rook b2 is just
okay,
such a big advantage.
So basically, okay. So rook f3, rook f2 here. Oh, it actually likes this position. I say king f2.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like black is not worse here.
King f3.
And say knight c4, surprisingly. You say. Okay.
Oh god,
it's playing this
anti-positional move, knight c4.
e4.
Yeah, e4.
He just plays even this position. It says even this is better for black, which is amazing.
Just plays a5. I see. So maybe what it's sort of saying is it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. The fact that your light square bishop is temporarily restricted doesn't really matter, because in the long term, what can white do? Wow.
But I wanted to get everything, and I just didn't want to get like this position, because I want to get knight on e4 and bishop c4, and I didn't see how to get that. I think this is more, no? If you play null move, as you say, no? Let's say like knight, king f2, and yeah, as you said before that, no? So that line. Maybe earlier, no? I don't know.
Wait, why can't you just play f5 here? Anyway, there might be.
Yeah, g4. The g4 I saw during the game. Yeah,
g4.
I don't want my opponent to open the position because he has 2 rooks. I want to keep the position.
That's a good point. Yeah, g4 is a important move.
And so I didn't see like how to make it work, and so I didn't play it. But again, my opponent didn't want to play this position. And again, I'm forgetting what maybe I can think maybe. So knight f3, rook f2. And what else does computer suggest? So maybe I'll try to remember this.
Computer just says rook b2.
Yeah, this I didn't see. Yeah. So I only calculate rook f2 natural just to grab that pawn. And can we play rook f2? Maybe I'll try to remember. Maybe there my opponent wanted to do something.
I think the key point to make is that, oh wow, computer is saying rook e2 is fine. For me, I thought rook e2 is the one bad move in the position because of knight d4. But I guess the computer doesn't really care. Saying, hey, I'll take the pawn anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So you really can choose any rook move.
Yeah, any move. Black is that much better. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is just really frustrating not to win this game, because just advantage is that big.
No, but I guess technically speaking, like, if you look just, like an accountant, white is still a pawn up. But I guess the point is maybe the pawn is going to fall very soon, and black's.
He has no coordination. He has zero coordination. And I think those things are harder to explain. You just like look at the position and you feel that white's pieces are just misplaced.
I think I can give some maybe pointers here. The rook is on b2. Somebody told me this a long time ago. I think this is like even before I was a master, that if you have a rook on the 7th rank in an endgame, it's actually worth a pawn. So you can maybe mentally say, okay, because this rook is on the 7th rank, it's already 1 pawn. And then white is technically up a pawn, but that pawn is going to be taken. So maybe one way to mentally account for this is once this pawn is taken, black is a pawn up because the rook is like already on the 7th rank. And maybe you can give another bonus for the knight being on e4. I don't know. And then you can think that maybe black is 1.5 pawns up, something like that.
Actually, I think I remembered him. Well, I think my opponent, so if you go back one move, 295, I think he was planning to play f3.
Pawn f3.
And here the computer was saying knight c5 and rook e2 gives big advantage. That's what I didn't see. I only consider move f6. And here I think, yeah. And here he said it was like a draw. And I disagreed. And I think, yeah, I think I was more right in the analysis, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a draw.
Yeah,
it seems like it is a draw. It seems like it is a draw because of the opposite colored bishops. But black rook is more active, and again, white's bishop is bad. I mean, like when I play bishop c4, I control the f1 square, so I can invade on the f file. And he cannot take on g7 because rook g8, rook g2, right? So he has no ideas. He can play rook d1, and I think we analyze that line. So I play rook rook hd8, and he cannot. He loses control over the d file because bishop d4. I take and play c5. I win the bishop, and I think we also analyze that line. So he loses control of the d file.
Point out that in position where you have opposite color bishop and rook, it favors the attacking side. But the problem is the attacking side is black in this position because so technically again white is still a pawn up, right? Yeah. So if we go, if you're going to go for the counter evaluation, it's still a pawn up for white. But unfortunately,
he can even take more. He can even win more material. So let's say rook d2.
Yeah,
rook d2 and bishop g7. But there's ideas like bishop d3 and bishop e4, I remember, right? Because again, black pieces are very well coordinated. Like I control d file, I control f1 square. White rook has to remain passive. And I have ideas like bring the bishop to h1 diagonal.
No, this is actually a really fascinating position and actually surprising to me. And like if you look at the computer, actually, if you look at the computer, I think most positions are good, but bishop d3 is so good. And it's really like the first time you see it, it's like, how many pawns down? White is up 2 pawns. But it's much worse and it's probably lost in this position.
I think it's, yeah, in the practical game, it's just super unpleasant to play because again, like it's very clear what black wants to do. But yes, it's very unclear like what is white's plan. I mean, his rook is just not coming out and the bishop is also like useless. Yeah, so this is what my opponent was planning to play, but I didn't play because of different line that I showed, like rook f2, knight g5. But I didn't see after f3 move knight c5.
Thinking of some advice to readers because this position, or to viewers, because this position looks very complicated and it's really surprisingly black's better. So maybe we can just put, we have to reevaluate our bonuses. Maybe rook on 7th rank is worth at least a pawn. And then the other thing is that the bishop is so active and the pawns are doubled. So even if white is up 2 pawns, you can subtract at least 1 pawn because they're doubled. And the second pawn can be subtracted because the black rook is so active. So black's actually better, even if you look at it from a mechanical perspective.
Yeah, that's very mathematical approach to the position. I don't know. I just look at the position. I just feel that just black is better. I don't count pawns. I just like, I don't know. Perhaps a different like approach to the position.
That's a good point. Actually, that's a very good point. They actually have all these theories on how to say it, like some technical players versus tactical players. I bet a guy like John Nunn, who I was really inspired by, would actually have because he's actually written commentary like this. You could discount this because of this, you can discount it because of that. So that's one way of looking at it. But maybe you can just, the other way is just pure feeling. Hey, I'm going to get my bishop on e4. It doesn't matter how many extra pawns you have. I'm just so active.
Right, exactly. So my approach was feeling, yeah. But sometimes it just bites back because sometimes you have to calculate, yeah. So there are trade-offs. So we can go back, yeah. So that's what I should have played, knight c5, and white would be, I think, in a big trouble. But I played f5, which was, yeah, a bit careless. So I leave my knight on a6, which is...
So even in this position, even though you didn't play knight c5, you played f6, still the position is good for you. So, but I think...
Yes, but this is what I was planning to play. Yeah, this is what I would do. But I didn't know that my opponent was planning to play f3. That's what he was planning to play. But I discarded this line because of move knight f3, as I said earlier.
I see, got it. I see, wow.
Right, knight f3 and rook f2, knight g5. I didn't see how, but even there, computer thinks black is better. But in my mind, I thought, I would have to repeat moves like knight d2 check, knight e4. Yeah. So.
Oh, I see. In that exchange on position.
Yeah. So I thought that he would play, but he was not planning to play that. He was planning to play f3. And if he played the line that we just saw, then I think he would be in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, but I'm pretty sure that maybe I'm just thinking about this. If it actually came to that position where he has to play f3, you think he might have changed his mind and played something else? Or like,
I don't know. I think he would play fast. I think he would play fast because I remember during analysis he was like thinking that it was a draw. At least he quickly said it was like looked drawish.
I see.
And it's very funny that computer thinks that is like 80% again for black in this position. Again, white has a bishop pair and an extra pawn, but not always material is important, right?
I think that's another point of especially the neural net engines. I think they really appreciate this more than anything else. And in fact, the funny thing is, that if you look at the other one is called the AB engines, the alpha beta pruning or AB engines.
Right.
So AB engines might even be more better at tactical positions. So it's quite possible that if a neural network engine plays an AB engine from this position, the neural network engine might miss some tactical ideas. But overall, neural network engines are sort of not materialistic at all, as you can see.
Right. Yeah, so I played this move, and yeah, we can turn off the engine perhaps. There'll be one more interesting moment after that. Yeah.
So later. F5, okay, interesting, yes. F5,
and here I think I give up some chunk of my advantage. I thought I was still much better, because if he takes FE4, then I mean his knight on E5 is not doing anything. Yeah, so he played bishop G3. Yeah, this is what I was thinking.
Okay. Takes and
yeah, I'll play rook D8, knight C5 again. I'm like, my next moves are very simple. And his bishop on F4, knight on E5 are out of place. I mean,
yeah, it's almost like it's an improvement on the previous lines we've seen, because there's no white pawn here. And but I think yeah, it's sort of a funny position where I think black can still play the active moves. And is black still a pawn down?
Yeah.
Yeah, black's a pawn down, but I think the pawn on C4, and it's not going to last very long.
Right. Yeah, that's. I'm playing for long-term compensation, just trying to improve the position. So let's see.
Yeah.
So
No, I just wanted to quickly say that if you do the simple metric with the rook on the 7th rank is worth a pawn, then black's already better, because this is worth a pawn, but then this pawn is so shaky. So
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, mentally feel for black then.
Right.
So F5. So he played. Should we
bishop
look
G3.
at bishop G3?
Yeah.
Okay.
And here was it rook D8? I think I played. I don't remember. Yeah, I think I played rook D8.
Yeah, rook H8.
I think I sort of I was never worse, but I think I lost a big chunk of my advantage. I just went all in, and instead I should have brought my knight to C5 to be able to recapture back with the knight on E4. I think he played bishop H4, but let's see if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he played bishop H4.
And here I just started going all in.
Actually, is there any kind of advice you can offer to viewers on intuition in these positions? Basically, you're saying knight C5 is more important than rook D8. I'm just thinking.
No, I didn't say that. I mean, perhaps in the previous position. Yeah.
Yeah, previous position. I'm just wondering if there's any general guideline here that can help people in similar positions.
Sure. Ask yourself a question: which piece can I improve? And there is knight on A6 that is not playing, and rook on H8. So just bring those pieces into the game. And of course, always think, what does my opponent want to do? So what does white want to do? I think he wants to play rook D1 perhaps and try to trade my active rook. I think
but can we go further? I don't know, this is a little bit crazier, but can we go further and say, look, the rook can easily come to D8. That's not a big deal. But knight coming to C5 is more important.
But right now, the knight is hanging on E4.
Yeah, knight's hanging on E4. Okay, anyway, it can protect. Right. But I think, can we positionally say that, it's is there sort of a feeling that the knight should come in? It's really important because the knight is not well placed on A6 anyway. So it's a higher.
No, that'll be way too nuanced. I think that that's not important to focus. I think for the viewers, because both are developing moves. I think what the takeaway is that ask yourself a question like, which piece can I improve? And both knight C5 and rook D8 improve the position of our pieces. I mean, yes, but I don't see any difference between knight C5 and rook D8 in general. I mean, both are useful moves. Here we play knight C5 because knight is hanging. Yeah, so that's
right. No, maybe the point there is that we can put a principle like this: F5 is interesting, but knight C5 is more natural. So consider natural moves like knight C5 first.
Well, I mean, if we look in this mathematical way, as you like, so we have 3 active pieces and 2 not active. So knight on A6 and rook on H8 are not active. By playing F5, I still keep this 3 versus 2 ratio. If I play knight C5, I will have 4 versus 1. So I just bring more pieces into the game.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think it's simple. Of course, there were concrete reasons that you ignore, that you rejected that move. But I'm just trying to think if we can think of some principles so that people can at least think of the right idea.
Yeah, that's not easy. I mean, but let's see. So bishop rook D8. So now again, we try to bring the piece into the game. So rook on H8 is doing absolutely nothing. And he played bishop H4. So he tries to destabilize my rook. I mean, he doesn't want to have both of my rooks on the D file. And well, I mean, my rook is attacked. So where do I go? No, I try to go all in. So I played rook D6.
Oh, wow, interesting. I guess, because I guess G5, the problem is just bishop E4.
Right, yeah, right E4.
Too many pawn splits.
Bishop E7, I presume?
Yeah, bishop E7.
And then rook B6, I think. And rook B6, yeah. So that looks nice, but again, I think this is a draw. White could have forced a draw in one of the lines. I don't remember how. But I don't think black is worse, because again, white's extra pawn is a double pawn. In my piece, are very active. I want to play rook b2 or something like that. So during the game, it looked convincing, but computer, even Stockfish was not impressed. Was saying I should take repetition somewhere. But let's see what he did from human perspective. Did he play bishop e4 rook d1?
He played rook d1 first.
Oh, how can you see that? Oh, easy. Okay, right. Rook
You
d1.
can, even though there's no notation, I can hit right arrow and I can see his move.
I see. Nice. Yeah, so rook d1, and I think I played rook b2, right?
Yeah, that probably makes sense. I'm guessing here. Yeah, rook b2 is correct.
I think he played. I think knight d3 was a repetition or something like that, but maybe I'm wrong. But it's not important. Again, I think the end game will be more interesting after that. So let's say, what did he play?
Is the idea of a knight d3, rook c2, then you play knight e1, or no? Wait.
I think something like that, because for some reason I don't want to take. Because yeah, if I play, yeah, we can play that line, right? So knight d3, I cannot take on a2 because take rook a2 take. If I'm not mistaken, so he takes back, right? Rook a2, rook a2, bishop e4. Yeah, rook a2, bishop e4.
Sorry, okay, sorry, bishop e4.
E4, knight c1, double attack, checkmate, and rook is attacked, right? So I think
that's great. Yes, great.
I cannot do that, right? Yeah, and that's why white plays bishop e4 first. Otherwise, I would have rook d2, right? So if he played knight c1 immediately, yeah. So something like that, I think, what computers saw.
Oh, that's a good point. I see. So you have to take on e4 first, so that you can have that extra mating threat.
Although I have rook a1, no, just rook.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking rook a1. Yeah, rook a1 is playable. Yeah.
So first rook a2 because rook on d1 is protected by the bishop. Then bishop e4, and then knight c1. So everything is concrete.
Yeah. So you have to take here, and then here, and then comes a mate threat. And I like this idea. Right. Attack the rook on a2 and also threaten rook to d8 check.
And it's very easy to miss like those moves, like backward moves. I mean, in chess. I think I missed one backward move and it cost me like tying for second place in Reykjavik Open. I mean, 2012.
Yeah. That's actually a good point. The backward move in this case is knight going back to c1. So like, you might be tempted to look at forward moves, but this doesn't, though it does threaten a mate, you can always just block it.
I mean, maybe knight b4 also wins actually instead of knight c1. Perhaps knight b4 also wins.
Knight b4, because of the nature of this position, actually, forward move can still win here. Yes. Interesting.
Yeah, but he played something else. Let's see. So actually, this is not only about initiative; it's also about, I don't know, like positional sacrifice in a way, right? Because black is playing.
Yeah, I think there's definitely positional sacrifice because it's like, I had to mentally put some notes, like, how much compensation does black have for the pawns.
Right. So what did he play? I don't remember. Did he take? I think he took bishop e4, I think, for some reason, but I might be.
Yeah, he played bishop e4. Yeah, he played bishop e4.
F4. Yeah.
F4.
Yeah, whatever he played, like, yeah. Maybe the next move was rook d2. I took back. Yeah. What did he play? Bishop f king f1. So white wants to play king e1 because my rook is very active. I mean, it controls the only open file. So he wants to play king e1 and rook d1, and either trade my rook or take control over the d file. And I think even here we tried to play for a win. Why? Because his knight on e5 again is very bad. It just does nothing. It just protects the opponent c4. His bishop on e7 is also empty. But bishop on e6 is not so bad. First of all, it cuts, restricts the activity of the e5 knight, like takes g4 square away from the knight, takes a7 square away from the knight, and also attacks the opponent c4. And if I take the opponent c4, material will be equal, and like light squares will be super weak, like d3 square will be super weak. I can bring the knight, maybe I can bring the bishop, and so forth. No? So I have some human ideas, whereas from White's perspective, it's not so easy. So maybe king e1, rook d1 is the only human idea that he tried to execute. And I don't remember what happened here.
And also, I want to quickly point out that after king e1, rook d1, white is also threatening a mate on d8. So white can get one more tempo.
So if I want to make, I can make it. I think I might be wrong, but I think I remembered my next move. Yeah. What will be the idea here? Okay, I remembered that. I remembered myself. I remembered myself already. So knight d8. So we ask ourselves a question like, what is our worst piece? And knight on a6 is the worst piece. It cannot jump to c5, otherwise it will be great. But the bishop on e7 is protecting. So
actually, one question: if we can do b6, knight c5, maybe that's too slow.
I mean, he would play bishop maybe e5. He would trade, of course. Yeah, he would. The position is closed.
The problem is, tactically also he can play here. And maybe forget tactically. Strategically, if he plays knight c5, bishop takes c5, b takes c5, and I think the point is that the position is so close that knight and e5, white can't take advantage of bishop against knight.
Yeah, so in the close position, we want to keep knight versus bishop, not the other way around. Yeah, but perhaps bishop is also fine. But I like knight b8 because that just improved the position of the knight. And king e1, what was there? Some interesting. I think I want to play for a win. Yeah, so rook, I don't know, c2 or b2. I don't remember, c2.
Yeah, rook c2. Well, at least you're hitting one pawn.
Rook d1, I think, right?
Yeah, most likely, I'm guessing. Okay, so rook d1.
And now we play, knight d7, I presume, right?
Yeah, you got to prevent that mate on rook d8. So, and knight c6 is just...
Perhaps knight c6 was also possible, but knight d7, I think without spoiling our pawn structure, I want to keep it healthy.
Yeah, I think either way it looks drawish, right? Okay, let's take this. Now I assume he took, and then he took with the bishop.
Yeah.
What
does he do? I remember.
I feel he can just play rook d2, right? Or no? He played rook d4. Wow.
Yeah. So
what's wrong with just rook d2? Sorry, the c3 pawn's hanging. Never mind. He can't play rook d2.
Yeah, and I think most likely I would play rook c1 check and then take on c3 to force the white king on the light square. I think this is. I think I'm playing for a win here, although I'm pawn down. Well, first of all, like, most likely I can just win the pawn back anytime. And secondly, my rook is more active and bishop is also more active. And his light squares are weak, and I have a light squared bishop, so I want to like create some play in light squares. So he played rook d4, which makes sense. He wants to take my pawn on e4, and I'm blanking out honestly what happened here. Did I play rook a2?
Yeah. The key problem is you can't play bishop c6 because of the mate.
Yeah, I think I played rook a2. Yeah.
Yeah, you might have to take pawn. I don't see any other move because of the problem that the bishop can't move.
Right, and here I had a draw, so like rook e4, and I can make a draw by just checking, right? So let's say rook a1, check. I think I repeated position once anyways. Rook a1. So what was next move? King e2 and check. And his king cannot go neither to d3 because of bishop f5, nor to f3 because of bishop c6. And he cannot go to c1 with the king because of rook takes f2. So, I mean, Black can make a draw anytime he wants. Like, his king cannot escape, I'm saying. To f3 because of bishop c6, to d3 because of bishop f5.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's worthwhile just quickly explaining the f3. So if you go king f3, then there's bishop c6.
Right.
And if the king tries to escape this way,
right.
Actually, it's not strictly needed. You can take on f2, but we also have an additional option, of bishop f5 for king. And if the king does some additional dancing, like, I don't know, let's say king goes to c1 or something, then you take on f2 and black is better.
Actually, I mean, what happens if black plays rook f4? What about rook f4? Actually, I was wondering.
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Rook f4.
If I take on g2?
No, okay, yeah. So basically, it's a good point. If you take on g2, then
bishop e8?
No,
bishop e8?
Oh, actually, wow.
King d7? I think black is just winning there. I'm not winning, but yeah, I think it's just that position is winning, right? Rook e8, king d7?
No. Yes, wow, this is just crazy. I didn't expect that you can win the piece back. I think you have to try rook b7.
I think rook h8, but yeah, I think.
Rook h8? Rook h8? To protect this. That's interesting. Yeah, maybe this is even.
But still, it's very unpleasant for white because of the pawn structure.
Yeah, so anyway, rook h8's here.
White is still suffering a lot, no? Yeah. But maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's a draw. I don't know.
Actually, I'm really curious what Indians think of this position. Yeah, it's like 76% chance of winning. So, but again, this is hard to say because sometimes it just mess up in here. And I guess rook b8 is probably much less accurate. I'm sure this is.
I think it's winning. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just b6. I didn't see the move b6. Yeah,
I would even play king d7. I think king 7 is also winning easily. Rook b7, rook h2, rook a7. I have 2 pawns. I just push them.
Yeah, that's right. I think the point is h2 pawns. H2 pawns coming here. So wow. No, this is crazy because I just assumed that you can't even rook g2. I assumed no, rook f8 you win a piece, but I guess in this weird position you actually because the king.
Because again, white's piece have some misplays. Yeah. So he cannot do that either.
Actually, that's worthwhile explaining. Why does black have this crazy tactic? I mean, it doesn't make any sense that he can regain the piece. And I think the intuition I've seen many strong players comment is that because white's pieces were misplaced to start with, like look at a bishop on e7, rook on e4. That's why black has these tactics.
Also sometimes they're tactics because just there are the tactics in the position. I don't know. Sometimes it's just hard to reason about tactics. It's just you just see it.
It's like a weird positional harmony. I mean, that's what I've realized.
Yeah. Perhaps harmony is a good. Anyways, he didn't. He played king e1, and here I didn't want to make a draw, right? Because although I'm at 2 pawns, how many 2 pawns down, right? Or 1?
No, it's not 2 pawns, only 1 now. But
I'll be 2. Okay, I'll be 2 in the future. Yeah, I'll be 2 in the. Okay, so I'm a pawn down, but my piece a better place again. My rook is very active, and his light squares are weak, and I have an outside pass pawn, which is not easy to stop because his rook is somewhere in the middle of the board, and his bishop is not really joining the game. So I played a5 if I'm not mistaken, and I declined the repetition.
Yeah, that totally makes sense because it looks like black should try for a win, and also I think positionally I'm not too worried about these 2 pawns. So it feels like it's almost like it's equal material because these 2 double pawns really can't do much with them. So really,
right. Yeah, I agree. Those pawns actually make it worse for white because the bishop, white cannot play bishop f8, bishop g7, and the bishop would be active on the h8, a1 diagonal. So pawn on c3 is actually bad news for white. Yeah, but anyways, this game still haunts me because I couldn't win it And I think at this point I had like 5-6 minutes, but I still wanted to play for a win. But then I made one inferior decision. I just blundered the repetition. So a4, we just give up that. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Okay.
So it's not about
what happened? Yeah, I guess the problem with h6 or something was that you're worried about bishop f8.
I wouldn't worry about that either. But let's see what computer thinks here. I think black is just better, much better. But yeah.
Yeah, it likes a4. It still likes a4. Okay.
Yeah. So actually here we can leave the engine because it's interesting after that. Because
but why h5 is funny? Why would somebody play h5?
H5? Oh, I mean, I don't know.
No, I'm really shocked that h5 is a playable move. Rook h5.
And bishop e6. It just computer says that anything just better for black. It just says anything is better, even if you move like h5. No? But perhaps it's just not the most like.
I see. Maybe so. What he's saying is that okay, that's just really.
I think it probably makes sense. Yeah, rook h7, and here I think I played b6, not bishop e6, right? I'm not. Let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember what I played.
No. Most likely, play b6 because that seems more natural than bishop e6.
Yeah. I also want to play c5. I want to lock this bishop. That's also fine. That's the idea, because the bishop, then his bishop will never be able to stop my pawn. There is no h8 a1 diagonal, and after I play c5, f8 a3 diagonal will also be blocked, right? So I'm just playing. I'm trying to restrict my opponent's pieces by playing this move.
Yeah, actually, now I see one idea. Like the idea to play c5, and then suddenly the past a pawn is far more dangerous.
We can actually play this line. He rook g7. He didn't play this move, but let's say white takes. He'll be three pawns up, and I play c5. Yeah, I'm still far away, but I think there is a great positional compensation, and computer agrees, right? Why? Because again, his bishop is just useless. Only 7.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, 3 pawn. Technically the. It's 3 pawns, and that's like a huge difference, a huge disadvantage. But so weird that it says king c7, not king b7.
Yeah, I don't know, but perhaps maybe white can make objectively draw. I don't know, but
it just seems. I see. If king b7, I'm pretty sure.
Rook d8, right? No, rook g7.
No, yeah,
that's not easy.
No, I was thinking of something else. Never mind. Yeah, that's not it. So king c7, and I guess just to basically the king has to protect the bishop.
And white has to see all of these ideas, like, which is not easy, perhaps in more chill time trouble.
Yeah, bishop d8 here. Oh wait, king b7. Now if here, what are you going to do? Oh, king c8. I see.
And it goes back. Yeah. So white plays for a draw.
What the heck? Just taking this pawn. You can still
then check an a3. You don't have to. Right. Let's see. No. Maybe the same thing, right? And the idea is
check an a3. Same thing. So yeah, that's a good point. I guess the idea is really bishop c5, then rook a1, a2, and white.
And if king comes to c2, I have bishop a4. If king comes to c2, right?
Actually, it's worthwhile looking at this line. This is crazy. So rook a1 check, king say d2, a2.
Yeah, here and
the funny thing is, white is how many pawns up? White is
right.
4 pawns up at least. But I think the point is that this pawn is a key pawn. Yeah, 5 pawns up. Yeah, but this pawn's a key pawn. So king c2 and
rook move. Just move rook. Yeah, just any seconds.
Anywhere. Yeah, and then your queen. Wow, that's just crazy.
Right. Yep. So, anyways, but he didn't take. So he played rook h8. The idea is to bring the rook to d file.
In this position, I think like at least the strong players will not take all the pawns because they'll try to stop your counterplay somehow. So they'll try some different ideas.
So playing b7 only move, and he plays rook d8. The idea, he just doesn't go for pawns. He tries to bring the rook into the game. And here I think I had like 4 whatever minutes, and I blundered his idea, and it was a draw. So rook a1, let's say. What did I play? I can.
Yeah, I played rook a1. Yes.
King e2. Yeah, king e2. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe we can show how the game ended. I mean, so I played one.
Yeah, it's okay.
Very bit. Yeah, that's just a blunder. Just rook e1 and rook d2, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah, and the computer says it's a draw, right? 50%, which is repetition. Yeah, I just blundered that, and I cannot avoid the repetition. That was so frustrating. But still, I was, and we made a draw.
I see rook d2. Yeah, wow. I see. So basically, the problem is that the rook can only go to d2 and d1 can't go to a3 because the bishop can do a control.
Let's go back. There was an very interesting moment here. So my opponent suggested a good move as well. After instead of bishop, let's go back. Maybe instead of rook a1 check. I think it was king c6 here. That was one move that my opponent suggested, and I didn't see this move at all. Yeah, because I didn't want to allow rook a8. So it was one move to keep the game going, and again, it's unpleasant because my idea is a3 and rook a1, a2, or at least this is how I understand it.
So but I think I'm trying to understand if rook a8, because rook a8 prevents.
And bishop e6, and now I have bishop e6. There is no rook d2, right? So the white rook on a8 is not doing anything. Yeah, so computer says it's just bad, no?
That's crazy.
Yes, maybe
the point is pieces are playing. The bishop can go to c4, and yeah, c5 actually hinders. I guess c5 even, can you play? Oh, king b7 just wins. Yeah. Now I was even thinking like, can you play b5? But I think you don't even need to get it to adventure. Just king b7.
Right, but that was another interesting
c8.
moment. Instead of king c6, let's see if I can
b7.
remember. Just a second. So how do I first check or not? So if we go back, yeah. Instead of king c6, let me remember. This was an interesting line. Oh, bishop f5. Yeah, if I played bishop f5 here, yeah,
but then
bishop
can,
f5. That was a trap. That way,
yeah, rook d2. What happens?
It loses. I think this loses. So I take. I thought maybe I'm just blanking out. So c5. Maybe I'm just c5, maybe not. This is a line.
Okay. Okay. So, but then king c1 and
a3, a3,
and
h4, and king a6. I have idea king a6, king a5, king a4, king b3. That's what I remember. And Eliza was stockfish. So maybe just. Yeah. I think this engine doesn't see it. King a6 was winning. I think.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible it didn't see it. Bishop f8. Or maybe now start to see it. Yeah, bishop f8.
Right.
Bishop f8. Yeah, this is where like
Can I just can I just sacrifice this pawn and play king a5?
You mean just do it right away? That's actually also interesting.
Or no? Or
what is he doing? What counter sacrifice? I don't understand this.
I take.
That doesn't make any sense. No, just play f3. I guess that's.
King bishop d3. Yeah, he cannot get rid of my bishop on this diagonal. This lost. Yeah, finally yes. Finally it was.
Yes. Yeah. Now
so stockfish is stronger. You see, stockfish is stronger because it was like stockfish 8. I think even so this.
No. I think the problem is this again. Maybe it is obvious to me, but it's important to reiterate. If you have a pure neural network engine, a GPU-based engine, it's going to be better at finding like positional ideas really quickly, but it's not as strong at tactics. And the latest stockfish, the stockfish 12, they call it an NNUE engine. So NNUE engine is also using neural networks, but it's also using a standard AB strength. So I don't know, when it comes to computer chess, it's like, you want to be a brute force calculating monster, or do you want to find like a good positional ideas? And unfortunately, the same engine can't find both because it's a different way to find.
Right. Decision-making process, right.
Yeah, so I would not quickly say that stockfish is stronger or weaker. It's just they have these trade-offs.
Well, of course, and, I never said it was stronger or weaker, right? Yeah. But here I was using stockfish 8. Yeah, I don't have 12. I am using 8.
Yeah, I think that's another point. Like, it doesn't, if it's an AB engine and it's, how to say it is trying anyway to look for all the tactical ideas, it'll find it.
Right. Whereas this is losing, I think, by the way. I want to see, like, if I'm not mistaken. So can I play c5? I think this is lost.
I want to see. This is winning. Now I think the engine agrees that it's winning.
Why?
I mean, hold on.
It says white is better right now.
No, now it says white is better, but I think if we went out a few moves, it understands.
Well, let's wait. I just want to see it because right now it's not showing it.
Okay, so let's see. But I thought we already
because
have it.
It doesn't see the idea, the winning idea king is
f3, bishop d3. So let's say it does bishop f8, for instance. We're just playing here, and what's the move like f3, then bishop d3. So we'll just say what other move? Just pretending shuffling the bishops. I don't know. Hold on, then he sees it.
Actually, let's see. Can I go back, Kim? There's instead of bishop f8, maybe. Oh, actually, bishop f8 is fine. So king a6, f3. Let's play f3 here. Yeah, f3.
F3 means it'll see it after bishop d3.
Bishop d3. Bishop d3. Yeah. e4. There is this line we need to calculate because white can start pushing his pawn. King a5. Now it sees, right? e5. Yeah. King a4. e6. King b3.
E6. King b3, and
E7.
now just put the bishop.
E7. A2. There is no checkmate. The game continues.
Oh.
A2.
But why can't he play bishop g6? I don't. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter.
E8.
Oh, it does matter. Wow.
E8. Yeah, king b1.
E8, and now king goes to b1, and now it's.
Okay. Maybe still winning. Okay.
Winning. Yeah, but like it's you don't need to do that. Yeah, I see. And so here you have to play A2. I see. Wow.
E8.
Yeah. No, but
A1.
A1.
King is 3.
Queen c3. King b2, you mean?
Yeah. King 2, king queen c3, king b1, and bishop c4, and that's what I think analyzed in my book. And black is winning here. No?
Hold on. If king e3, then obviously bishop g6.
Bishop g6. Right.
Bishop g6. And if king here.
Bishop c4. My king is safe. There's no checks. His king is not safe. I mean, everything is protected. Yeah.
What's the winning idea here? Just the queen. Queen d.
Maybe just king b2 and bishop b3 and just try to. I don't know.
No, king b2. I see with the idea of bishop b3. I see.
Yeah, but
bishop b2 is king e2. I'm so confused. No, it must be winning.
But anyways, like it's winning move by move. I mean, so if white had this maybe one extra tempo, he would promote first, right? So we wouldn't even have this. So I think that's a critical idea.
If you play null move, maybe this is a good null move position. Then king b2 is a strong idea. King b2 is the idea of bishop b3, and so let's just say another null move because we're feeling. Oh no,
one checkmate. Yeah.
Okay. So wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So anyway, so if we go back, I think again just to appreciate the harmony, or I don't know, the dynamics of the position. So if we go back, let's say b4 f3. I don't know.
I just want to say something funny that after all of the neural network computation, my computer is really, really hot right now, physically.
Right. So here, this position, like it's lost. I mean, like let's stop for a moment and see that white is 2 pawns up. It's off the start bishop, and there is no immediate threat. I mean, like, but it is still losing. I mean, because white dark squared bishop is completely out of the game. This pawn on c3 is hurting him. Without pawn on c3, he would have bishop f8, bishop g7, easy draw. Maybe he could be winning. I don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah. If you remove this pawn, oh god, you can't do that so easily. Right. But if you remove this pawn and toss it off the board, then suddenly the bishop is strong. It can go f8, g7, and all the way back to a1. Defend.
Yeah. So not always having like a pawn on the board is a good thing.
And then, no, the funniest thing is like even if you don't have c4 pawn, there's still a chance you can play c4.
Right.
And
yes. Yes. So again, that shows like again. And most likely, I think my opponent would play rook d2 because I was in time trouble. I think he would play that more fast. But again, I didn't see this at all. I mean, like bishop e5 didn't seem intuitive at all as well. I mean, bishop e6, bishop c4. This is like what comes to mind.
Yeah, it's a pity. Bishop f5 and.
But it's not easy to see. I think it's just
really hard to see. Really hard to see. I agree.
If someone tells me, I mean, like after rook d2 is winning, then perhaps it's not difficult. Yeah, because you can use method of elimination. You just see that other moves do not work. No? But yeah, with time pressure, maybe without time pressure, still a difficult exercise. Yeah, because bishop f5 doesn't make sense, right? You want to take the pawn c4, at least in my mind.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy that just winning here and just unfortunately blundered.
Yeah. That would be a very good end to the game, but yeah, I think the draw is
king
also
c6, and I like your opponent said king c6 is also maybe another way to do it.
But but I really want to play c5, like in my mind, to block the bishop away. So
I see. So basically, it's like a culmination of a positional idea as well.
Yeah, that's why I didn't consider king c6. I didn't see this move at all. No? Yeah. So I played bishop e6 and I just blundered his idea rook d2, rook d1. Yeah, that'll be again good end to the game if I play
now I think you can't.
Yeah, I just continue saying it.
No. I think the funny thing is if you take now, the problem is none of those ideas matter anymore because the king. Like let's say, like if we try to repeat some ideas, the problem is these two squares are like well available. So if you try c5, he can just play king c2 and he can. And then if bishop c4 then king. Yeah, there's So basically, this bishop was really important on those light squares.
Exactly. Yeah, it was difficult to say, I think.
Yeah, bishops. Yeah.
And here I'm trying to make a draw.
Right.
So it was an interesting game.
Basically, it's like it's a good point that now the double pawns are gone, then white is better.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has an extra pawn.
Yeah, no, it's meant as a joke.
So it was an interesting game, but it required a lot of energy because I had to think from move one. And the game was of the main theory right from the opening, right from starting from move one, and especially after move two because it was just completely different pawn structure. But since I spent so much time in the opening part trying to find like ways to continue the game, for example, like knight f6 early on, like in the opening, I didn't have enough time in the game to find best continuations. But still,
actually, that's a great point actually, because I feel like you play the opening somewhat how to say it casually, or maybe you played like very unorthodox moves to avoid theory, but then you have to put a lot of energy in the middle game. Like you really have to make sure
exactly,
there's something here, and that energy actually took you away from endgame victory, which is really counterintuitive. So it's sort of weird that a certain plan of the opening will make you think more in the middle game, which doesn't give you enough energy to convert the end game.
Yeah, I think playing in this style, it will just burn you out. I mean, I think I'll be unable to play 9 rounds in a row in such style because you have to play very precisely, like every single move. So
actually, that's a very interesting point that many people will miss, because many people think that if I play d4, knight a6, I play like total sidelines, then I don't have to calculate so much and my opponent is going to think more. But actually, you need to justify playing those offbeat lines, and that's going to consume a lot of energy.
It's consumed a ton of energy. It's just much easier just to learn like last variation, Queen's Gambit declined, and you don't need any energy. Just come and you can sleep and still you know where to place your pieces. Here, you just have to use your mind, right? Starting from the beginning. So it's a trade-off, right? So if you want to get a fighting position with black, you have to fight. You have to accept worse position and consume your mental energy. If you just want to equalize, you just study theory at home. You play d4, d5, c4, c6, or e6, and just play your lines, right? But then you cannot play for an advantage, right? Because white also knows what to do, and usually there is no room for black to play for a win unless like white pushes too hard, right? Like in Queen's Gambit declined, for example. Yeah. So again, there are different approaches.
Great point. Yeah. No, great point. I think that's one of the reasons why, I don't know how true this is, but many grandmasters sort of leave professional chess because it's so competitive. It's so difficult to get an advantage.
And not only that, but it's just like playing in this style, it just like really exhausts you. It just consumes all of you, because you have to think very deeply for 5 hours, and it's and you cannot do it for 9 rounds in a row. So I think if you remember,
no, I think
you know about, of course you know, I mean, about Harry Pillsbury. I mean, he was like living in the end of 19th century, right? And I think he was very exhausted, right? I mean, like, maybe I'm just wrong, but I remember I was reading one of the books, and I think he was giving a lot of blindfold simul exhibitions. And at some point, this has just led to some like mental issues. Am I wrong? Or this is like at least like a story I remember.
He operated the Turk machine. I don't know if you're familiar. It's like a mechanical Turk.
Of course. But it was like at the beginning of the 19th century, right? Like 1810.
Yeah. And the problem was that there was not much technology advancement in those days to be a mechanical Turk. So it was just Harry, playing inside like metal armor under the table. But one of the most difficult things was he was drinking a lot, because he couldn't, like, it was like a lot of physical pain on him and also mental pain. So the poor guy was basically just like, trying to, hope that a lot of alcohol will keep him alive. And it's just.
But first of all, this is a typical situation even right now. Many chess players do that, actually, even on the top level. But I was not sure whether he was playing inside of the mechanical Turk. I thought it was like at least 50 years apart, those things, if not more. I thought mechanical Turk was I think mechanical Turk was like 1810s, 1820s. He lived like in 1890s, I thought. So I think there is some.
No, but they had exhibition with mechanical Turk for a long time.
Okay.
Even in the 1950s, even in the early 1900s and mid 1900s.
I see.
So anyway,
perhaps. But the point was that again, like he was playing like creative chess and giving blindfold simul exhibitions. I think he set even the record at that time, but he paid with his health for that, right? And I'm not sure whether.
I feel really bad because I think Pillsbury was one of those underappreciated talents. He could have easily been a world champion if he put his mind to it, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He did not take it so officially or so seriously, because I don't really feel that he was weaker than Steinitz and Lasker.
Like, I don't know how to compare everything. The year was different. Yeah, right.
The year was different. I'm not trying to take away from Steinitz and Lasker, but I think he could have gone there, but he just didn't put his full effort on that.
Possible. But anyways, again, chess requires all of the mental effort you can give, and it doesn't allow to have a chess and maybe other profession, although perhaps some people may disagree, because Botvinnik, he was like a successful engineer, I think, and Oive was also a professor of mathematics, like both world champions, right? So they were.
Yeah, I think there's some dispute on how good. It's funny because I also thought Botvinnik was a great engineer, but there was somebody who posted on one of the chess forums saying that he created an engine a long time ago, and he tried to talk to Botvinnik, and I think it was Pioneer and Kaisa. I forget now. Kaisa and the other one. And so that guy was basically trying to get words out of Botvinnik, but he met Botvinnik in the elevator, and he said Botvinnik didn't say anything that's technical. So some doubt on how much Botvinnik spent on the engines. But I think the key point is from a different perspective. Chess is a very tiring game for exactly that reason. That people have to not only compose for variations, you actually have to play it out, and you have to, like, if you make a small inaccuracy in any position, you could just be lost. So it's extremely tiring because you have to be like a piano composer, but at the same time, compose live along with your opponent. So it's really, I don't think like other fields are that unfortunate or that demanding.
Plus, also, I want to add that so please continue. Yes.
No, I just want to say that, I'm looking at computer fields engineering. Nobody is forcing you to build like a bridge, or like real time. In a couple of hours, and then see if people are going to be surviving because of your bridge or not. People spend many years, like, honing it, and nobody, wants you to rush all the time. It's not like you must finish the whole construction in a few hours. So I feel like
Yeah.
chess is a little bit,
Perhaps, yeah, good point.
unfair.
Yeah, but the point I was going to make before I forgot it, it was that like those like Botvinnik and Oive, and I think Capablanca was also like a diplomat. I mean, they would try to how to say it, combine chess with some other profession. They were, again, successful, relatively successful. I cannot judge, I mean, because I didn't know them, I didn't live in that time. But nowadays it's different, because I mean there are databases and everyone can keep up with with theory like in no time. I mean, just and use engines. I mean, so if you miss like 1 year on chess now, I mean, it'll be very hard to catch up. In those times, Botvinnik could become world champion, just go do research and play his match against Bronstein 3 years later and still retain his title, and so forth. No, but nowadays, I mean, if you miss 3 years, I think you're just out of the league. No, perhaps there are
Yeah, no,
exceptions.
exactly.
Yeah,
No, that's a good point. I think this is also true in other fields. Like in the past, you could have like some guys. Oh God, I'm forgetting like a top guys, but I think there's a French scientist. There's all kinds of scientists who did multiple things. Actually, maybe oh God, who is the famous guy? Leonardo da Vinci. He
okay,
did a lot of inventions he could do. He basically cut across many fields. But as the fields become more mature, you can't do that anymore, and it is going to be really difficult to even have like a single new invention, and it's not like
good
the old days
point.
for sure.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, so I don't know, this game seems like it fits into initiative, but maybe even more into positional sacrifice, because I mean, multiple points, black was down a point, or even 2 points, or even 4 points or 5 points we saw, right? Yeah, so
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like at the beginning, it's like it fits into unorthodox openings. It fits into like novelty and move to, but then it fits into like some kind of like crazy end game initiative.
right. Yeah, so thank you viewers for watching this, and we'll be back with more videos on positional sacrifice.